What's up, everybody? Mick Manhattan here. The Scene Snob reviews Black Christmas. That's when I just got out of the theater about an hour ago to go see it. Just opened this weekend, and it is a remake of the 1974 classic Black Christmas. Sort of. And I will get to my feelings on that in a sec. But walking out of it, my first impressions. I went and saw it in the Psycho Cinema. We got our beautiful pins there, and I walked out of it, and now I didn't hate it. I see it as getting a lot of hate online, and I did not hate the movie. What I did hate about it was it should not have been called Black Christmas. It has, other than it's Christmas, and it takes place in a sorority house, somewhat, and a good amount, but somewhat, it is not Black Christmas. It is not a remake in any way. It's not a re-imaging in any way. It's just those two things are coincidentally have what they have in common. And being such a fan of the original and what the original was, I don't like that they connected the two. I also don't like that they connected the two because this movie is good on its own merit. If you called it something else and made it its own thing, you're giving it new life. And now what bothered me about that was it's a very heavy-handed movie. I came out as a white man, I came out slapped in the face by it. And I will just say that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that in any way, shape, or form. We hear a lot of people complain about that, and I don't think that should be a complaint. I don't mind. That's what movies are. You can be heavy-handed with, or it can be solely based that, but whether jokes are heavy-handed or not, or just the theme in general, the story made sense. The story made sense for what it was, what they were building up to. So getting the hate it's getting, I think, is A, because of its connection to Black Christmas, which isn't really a connection. B, I think it's because it was PG-13 and they could have. I kind of wish the gore was there. I kind of wish this was an R. It deserved it, I think. But regardless of that, I didn't think that took away from the story, which is the most important thing. But now the other horror side of me says, I wish there was more to it. I wish there was more gore. I wish there was more elaborate. But it was good. Now it stars. There's a lot of stars in it, but Imogen Poot, I believe is her name. And you may remember her. She's in a ton of movies. I really liked her in the remake of, ironically, a remake, which of what's Fright Night. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But she was in the. She played the girlfriend, or I should say, love interest, of Anton Yelchin's character in Fright Night, and now, that to me was a fantastic remake. I know that caught a lot too, but I don't think that deserved it at all. It was fantastic. Again, this movie is not a good remake. This movie is good on its own. When I was walking out, one of the people I was talking to, she had mentioned, this is basically a Buffy and the Vampire Slayer episode, and she was right. And that's what I loved about it. Like I was like, yeah, and when she said that, it kind of opened it up a little bit more because I was like, yeah, it's heavy-handed things like that, but a lot of those shows were, and I get it, and I understand it, and I understand what most of the jokes that they made in this movie and why they made them. And I understand it helped to kind of solidify the point of what they're getting to, and meaning that when you see the story, I don't want to give away too much. I'm trying to be a little vague, so I think that's why I'm coming off the way I am. But the whole plot revolves around, I don't want to say the Me Too movement or things like that, but like, the way women have been treated in the face of sexual assault, things like that, and how men react and how people react to these things coming out. And it's just really good. Like it kind of touched down a lot of things that my wife and I, Mrs. Snob and I, have talked about on Marriage Like That podcast. So with that being said, I just kind of keep going with it. This movie, again, was really good, and I wish they had done it um, free from Black Christmas. Because whereas Black Christmas in its own right, when it came out, was a very pro-female movie. It was female driven. If you watch that movie, it's the women that are the competent ones. Like the men are incompetent throughout the movie, and some in a silly fashion, some in a way that they just can't comprehend because of the times and there's a social structure between men and women. It's really well done. They talk about abortion in that movie, and it's 1974. You know, Roe v. Wade had just happened at that point, so even talking about it in a movie was insane. Like, you know, people didn't do that, but this movie did that. They talked about many other things that at that time you didn't talk about those things, and it was such a good movie, and it was a great movie, and not a good movie, a great movie behind it, a great horror movie. Now, this movie is not a great horror movie. It is a really good one. I think people need to take into account. These were inventive jump scares. In this movie, in this new Black Christmas movie by Blumhouse, these were inventive jump scares. There was one that matches the jump scare from Exorcist 3. I think we all know what I'm talking about, and that's the nurse in the hallway scene. So, and they do that. The only thing I would say is like they let it happen too fast. They could have played it for the same in the same vein as that, and it worked because it worked the way it did. But if they had played it out a little longer, I think it would have worked better. But almost everything was really well done, jump scare wise. The girl plugging in the different lights, you know, kind of went on too long, but it brought it around to such a great fashion. There's quite a bit, and again, I don't want to give away too much. I'm trying to think on the fly while I'm talking about it. Like, do I want to say anything about this or that or whatever? I don't want to give away. There's a final fight scene in the end, and it was cool. It really worked. There are some things from a social point. Again, I don't know that it needed to be done that way. But I think it didn't work because they didn't explain it well. They had this migraine thing going on, and one of the boyfriends of one of the girls in the sorority, he kept getting angrier and angrier throughout the movie, and I didn't understand. I'm like, why is this guy turning into a douchebag? And then all of a sudden, like, they say something, they make a remark about men, and he kind of flips out on them, and he's bringing up his points. And as a man, I'm like, I kind of get those points that he's bringing up. And then they just kick him out. She rushes him out the door and kicks him out. And I didn't see it at first. I'm like, why would she just kick him out? Like, that's her boyfriend. I don't understand. He even said to her, he's like, you know, first time I bring up a really good point and you throw me out. And she's like, get out. And I kind of got it. She didn't want, you know, one of her friends is a big into the activists, into the protesting and things like that. And I don't think she wanted them to fight. That's the way it came off to me, was she didn't want him to say anything that was too far, you know, and she used that as a catalyst, like, just go, you know. It still didn't play well for me, but it ramped up the action real fast because there's a siege moment after that, and it worked out well. And he comes back, and it kind of works, but and they almost played it up like there's these migraines that are going on because there's a supernatural element to it that I don't want to go too far into, but that was kind of causing the men to act this way, because there's another guy at another point who he starts getting these migraines and this ringing in his ears. But they never really elaborated on that. They were kind of like, oh, you got a headache, you know, and like the bad guys were like, oh, you have a headache, and that's this, and that was it. That was it. There was no explanation. There was like a god to the other side of it. It's kind of like a fraternity versus sorority feel, and not feel like it is straight up. It's fraternity versus sorority. And there's like a supernatural god element to it, and even that is really not explained, and just kind of throws me off a bit. So there were some things, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie leading up to that. I thought it was just kind of hollow in the backstory. But the story-wise, not bad. Like, if they had even left the backstory out, it's just like, this is what it is. It's a supernatural element. That's what. Okay, I'm in. I'm in for the ride. So take me down this road. But they didn't do that, and they elaborated too much without elaborating, if that makes sense. And if you watch it, please let me know if you see what I mean. Without spoiling it. But I do want to hear what everybody else thinks. So overall, I would give this movie 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know that I'll revisit it. I might, because those jump scares were really good. But so I don't know if I'll revisit it, but I do like it, and I just wish they did not call it Black Christmas. That's my biggest problem. I really think this was a movie that was written with originality, and they were like, okay, it has these two elements. It has Christmas, or they were told to write it this way: add Christmas and make it a sorority. But if they didn't, I think that's why they wanted to add Black Christmas to the title. Blumhouse has been doing really good with the reboots, remakes, things like that, and that's what they're kind of been known for. And this one, ever since it was announced, felt rushed. Like rushed from, oh, here we're announcing that this is coming out this December, and I think it was like August or September that they talked about it. It was like, it's coming out this September, or December rather, sorry. And it's Black Christmas remake, and I think everybody was kind of like, oh wow, Black Christmas, that sounds awesome. And as we went on, it kind of did not seem familiar to Black Christmas. It wasn't in any way, shape, or form, and that bugged me. I don't like when they do that. In fact, I would give it 3 stars just for that. Just because you connected it to a movie that it really had nothing to do with. And it was a classic movie. So overall, I would say check it out. See what you think. If you're a horror fan, why not? Go into it with an open mind. If you love Black Christmas, go into it without thinking of Black Christmas. Go into it just like, let's see what this is about. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think, though. Definitely message me or put comments down below, and I will check them out and answer them, and definitely want to know what everybody thinks. Also, you can hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I am at The Scene Snob on Instagram and Twitter. The Scene Snobs page on Facebook. And definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel here. You can reach me all over. So definitely look forward to hearing what all of you guys had to say, or what you thought about the movie. And that's about it. And have a good night, and Merry Christmas, everybody.